Says, besides, it is a tradition that gives many adherents purpose and a sense of identity with their faith. But the church is also a great need of new participants. Gallup found that overall membership in the United States has plunged 20% percentage points in the last 20 years. People are dropping out, and the power to change this narrative lives in engaging teens. I see this in my own traditional church in North Virginia. I attend on only biannually because of the strict standards and pompous preaching which relate to anything but true spirituality. When I do go to church, I'm among only 2 or 3 teenagers in the room, which is both saddening and alarming. Remember, she doesn't like going because strict standards and pompous preaching. Pompous preaching probably means preaching anything that's stating anything is wrong. Christianity's rich history and established values are not an excuse for churches to resist change. In fact, religions like Judaism and Buddhism, which go even further back in terms of ideals and philosophies, have successively embraced inclusive programs to draw a larger young audience. For Judaism, this means organizations like Union for Reform, Judaism learning to create more, listen, LGBTQ plus inclusive spaces. There you have it. I'll just stop right there. That's the end. At that point, the teenager shows, she just played her hand. She just showed her hand. See, if you really want to be inclusive, LGBTQ. In other words, don't condemn any, don't preach biblical sexuality, don't preach biblical standards, don't preach godliness, don't preach holiness, don't preach sin, don't preach eternal judgment. Basically, don't preach anything that's Christian. Call yourself Christian, remove the denominational name, don't teach doctrine theology, don't indoctrinate, just say, come and let's talk about God, a God, in your life, and you discovering who you really are. A new age spirituality / modern day psychology. Self-improvement. So USA publishes an article, hey, here's the answer to all you churches, because, if you want to win the teenagers back, here's what the teenagers want. If the teenagers want that, they don't get that. Because what they want doesn't change what the church is supposed to do. What the church is supposed to give them is the word of God preached in season and out of season. I already think most churches' youth programs are an embarrassment. They are a joke. And most youth programs should be discontinued and removed from churches. You want to teach the teenager something? Teach them the Word of God, verse by verse, expound the scriptures to them. They don't always need to be separated into some separate group where you can try to, we're going to try to be cool. No, they can sit in the sanctuary with adults and have the Word of God preached to them. All these little youth programs to entertain them, activities. The teenagers don't need more activities. They don't need more entertainment. They need the Word of God taught from verse by verse through the Scriptures. They need to be taught doctrine. They need to be taught theology. They need to be taught church history. And they need to be taught hermeneutics. Once you read that article, there's no point in reading it. She just played her hand. Oh, churches could be more like certain parts of Judaism where they have this LGBTQ plus, inclusive groups. Okay, that's not Christianity. That's obviously not even historical Judaism. Here's the thing. The young people today are just like the people of old. Everyone wants to take Christianity and reshape it into their likeness. We want to reshape God into our likeness. God created us in His image, and we want to return the favor. We want to create a God in our image, create a church in our image, a God that pleases us, a church that pleases us, a God that gives us what we want, a church that gives us what we want, because what we ultimately really worship is ourself. And Christianity is the opposite of self-worship, because Christianity calls for the death of self and the surrender to a will that is not your own. An interesting article, but an article, sadly, that demonstrates not a teenager who truly is trying to say, hey, the church, could you listen to some of my concerns? No, this is a teenager calling for the end of the Christian church, just not coming out and saying it in those terms. The church is going to have to make a decision. Are we going to stand faithful to the Word of God and watch our numbers continue to decrease? Or are we going to compromise to try to win some people back? That's what every church will have to decide. All right, I'll stop right there. Thank you for listening to this live broadcast. Thank you for listening to me discuss this news article. Hopefully it gives you something to think about your church and just about where Christianity is headed. Biblical Christianity definitely is going to face is already facing some difficult challenges, and those are only going to increase. I would challenge you to get our app, the VBC 66 app. You can do so in the Apple App Store, the Google Play Store. Get the Spreaker app. You can follow us there. And if you need to contact me in any way, shape, or form, newsif@yahoo.com, newsif@yahoo.com. Love to get your thoughts and feedback. Let me know if you're listening, where you're listening from. And I'll stop right there. Everyone have a great Monday evening. And, well, sorry I didn't get more things. There's a lot of things I wanted to do live broadcasts on. I wanted to do, there's a lot of things. I won't get, because I'll start preaching all of them. But there's always more things I want to talk about than I have time to talk about. All right, everyone have a great day and great evening. God bless.